family staycation in the rain? No thanks. Treat them to summer sun in Alicante, Faro or Malaga.
Cloudy this evening with some outbreaks of rain. Lows of 4 to 7 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave or your money back. Neon Night Edition available now.
This is News Talk.
Welcome along. We are coming at you with a brilliant show this evening. Great lineup. We have Brian O'Driscoll in studio talking about Leinster Toulouse, amongst other things. Also, Leo Cullen. He went full John Kiley, which is not his usual approach, but that's what he did today. Colin Boyle, meanwhile, on the weekend's GAA. We have the always brilliant Jonathan Wilson on the football show ahead of Arsenal Manchester City tomorrow at the Etihad. Live commentary, by the way, on Off the Ball. If you can't get to a TV, we will have you covered. Nathan and David Myler going over to the game. And then 3 Premier League games this evening. Dan McDonnell in studio as well after 9 o'clock. 53106, the text number. We're at Off the Ball on Twitter. Richie McCormack is with us. Hello.
Young Joe, how are you?
Very good. Michael McCarthy. Aston Villa could leapfrog Spurs and go into 5th with a win over Fulham at Villa Park this evening.
Villa Fulham tonight. What a game. Clash of the Titans. I'll be signing off at 7:45 tonight, Joe. Don't expect any work from me after that.
Standard Tuesday on Off the Ball here. So Leo Cullen has gone full John Kiley.
Yeah, like even referencing Limerick in there.
The 2 most successful sporting teams in Irish sport currently, and therefore by extension 2 of the most successful coaches, have both had enough of the hype train.
2 most dominant. I would say Leinster are struggling for the word successful at the moment in their trophy haul. But they're the 2 most dominant teams. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Leinster need to win a trophy this year, I would say.
Yes, I suspect they'd agree with that. John Kiley, I'm sure you've seen the quotes by now after Waterford said, let's be honest about it, there was some amount of bullshit spoken about our team this week. It's a softening up exercise mentally from those outside of our camp, but we're around a long time. We know what's going on. Leo Cullen doesn't usually do a Monday press conference. So he arrived yesterday and the journalist on the regular beat thought, this is interesting, Leo's here. His first answer was 6 or 7 minutes long. He had things he wanted to say, and he most certainly got onto hype, amongst other things. So what Leo Cullen said was, it's just disrespectful to everyone we play against. And I'm sure it's just winding up the narrative in their minds. The hype, it's week on week on week. We're up against the best teams in Europe. Toulouse are the most successful team in the competition. They lost at this stage last year. What do you think their motivation is? It's through the roof. You're up against top teams and they only lap up all that media stuff that all you guys have delivered.
I'm so confused about all this.
You journalists looked at the ground and said, not I. And the Limerick point was made to him. God, this is very familiar to John Kiley, what he just said yesterday. Limerick won last year. We didn't. That's all I remember. All I remember is the disappointment of losing in Marseille and losing at home in the RDS against the Bulls. We won nothing last year.
As just pointed out, it's absolutely brilliant. I love this. I mean, I wish every press conference was like this. I wish every manager speaking was speaking in the way that John Kiley and Leo Cullen have over the last 2 days. But I kind of don't get where he's coming from. I have to say, much like with John Kiley, I don't know what people are supposed to write about performances when Leinster dominate both domestically and in Europe, you know, throughout the entire season. I know they didn't win last year, but I don't get the idea that a media is responsible for hype. They write about what's there, or they talk about what's there. And like Jerry Thornley was in last night talking about Saturday being potentially one of the greatest club games to ever be played. You know, that is hype, but it's not necessarily hype for Leinster going to dominate and win a game. You know what I mean? We know what Toulouse are. I think everybody talking about the game knows what Toulouse are and knows how big a task this is for Leinster. And I think for me anyway, and look, you probably read more and seen more than I have, but for me the only I would say it's more expectation on Leinster than like hype or sorry, it's not an expectation that they're going to turn up and just do away with everybody, but it's almost like the promise is there and now needs to be fulfilled. Like this team needs to fulfill the promise of that domination that they've had over the regular season for however many years now. And I don't think that's I don't think that's hype. That's the natural evolution of what this team needs to be, or else they're not fulfilling their potential.
I think the key difference with Cullen and Kiley is Leo Cullen wasn't saying this is some kind of concerted effort to soften us up, but he was saying he's uncomfortable with the hype. Now, in the main, I would say there are also a huge number of pieces written and pieces that we would do on Monday and Wednesday Night Rugby where the caveat is almost always thrown in that Leinster haven't won a European Cup in X number of years. They have routinely fallen at the hands of La Rochelle and Saracens. There is a question mark hanging over them for all their brilliance. So it's never just it's unmitigated brilliance on every front and they're so good and all they have to do is turn up. But it was interesting. He made a point of saying, and the ticket prices for Saturday, I think if you want to get a ticket now, a starting price at the moment is €75, I was reading.
Yeah.
That's very steep. And he was at pains. So in quite a few of his answers on different fronts, he was asked generic questions but made specific points, clearly pre-planned, setting a tone for the week, I'm sure. It's a defining week for Leinster. But he made a point of saying the ticket prices, they are EPCR ticket prices. We don't control them. It's an EPCR event. We really could do with fans turning up. You know, we need you. Because I think there's a sense of a worry in the Leinster camp that there'll be Aviva fatigue and there's a cost element and
there's a final coming up.
Will I go to the final or will I hang?
And maybe there isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for instance, you know, a further sense of the mood. He was asked if Toulouse and La Rochelle have bigger budgets. This is on the back of the discussion of recent weeks. I don't know. I haven't got the calculators out, so I don't know. And then he started talking about how, look, French rugby's big business was his phrase. And he said, we're little old Ireland, small demographics. We're fighting a minority sport for young talent and all the rest. And I think a journalist then joked, Leo, is there any point in turning up on Saturday? To which, to be fair, he did see that, you know. And on Wigglesworth, the Leicester coach who had joined Dan McFarlane.
He has a right go here.
Questioning Leinster's finances, yeah. So Wigglesworth wasn't mentioned. They just, you know, the finances discussion was happening and Leo Cullen said, it's interesting. Obviously, Richard Wigglesworth had some comments the last day about us. Obviously, he came through with Saracens.
Yeah.
That's what you're up against.
They spent 50 million quid, wrote blank check, and then rode off into the sunset, is what he said. He was really like, he wasn't impressed with the Wigglesworth side of things.
No.
He has a point. Like, the Irish provinces benefit from the fact that there's only 4 of them and that they're centrally, like Leo makes that point, that they're centrally contracted and all that kind of stuff. Whereas France, like, it is a massive business. We've seen the numbers involved in the TV deals that go on over there, to the point that, like, the Pro D2 over there is actually a pretty strong league and there's a lot of good players playing in it. I don't think you'd find that literally anywhere else, where the second tier in a rugby playing nation is pretty strong and has pretty well-known sides in it. So yeah, France do have that financial edge, you would feel. And you just have to look at their squads, for God's sake. They're incredible. Toulouse in particular.
I actually think we could do without the sort of like comparing finances and natural advantages and TV deals and all this week. I mean, it's Leinster to lose. We know what the teams are. And here we are. Like, it's like who's a better rugby team and who's going to win this game. Leinster have home advantage. Yeah. I don't know if we need to play the poor mouth. I know he's probably only, like, you know, in some ways even being slightly facetious in the way he's saying it, but like, Leinster, we don't need to go into all their natural advantages. Obviously there's big budgets in Toulouse and La Rochelle. Fine, let's just get on with it here. We're at the semi-final stage now, and like, I don't know,
it's about passion. It's about passion and who wants it more.
But it's not. It's about a game of rugby, Richie. You know what I mean? And it's like, we know what the situations are. We know what the teams are. The bigger conversations as to who has more advantages and all of this stuff is rubbish at this stage. You know what I mean? Like, this is basically the Grand Slam winning Ireland team
to be
going out and playing at home in the Aviva Stadium. They have to win this game.
No, they do. And it's a pity Johnny Sexton is Leinster career is finished. But even, I suspect he would remember as very disappointing if, from this period 2018 to now, when they've been so successful, if they only managed to win it once. And Lancaster, I would think, is of a similar vein. They would look back on that with regrets. To be fair to Cullen, I mean, he's been asked about these specific things, but he definitely pitched up as a man keen to talk. Brian O'Driscoll is in after 8 o'clock. We recorded that chat earlier. He certainly felt there was a degree of Leo Cullen trying to take the pressure off the players. Those idiots on Off the Ball Tuesday will be talking about me and not the game, and that's partly what Cullen is doing. So, job done. Brian's on the way after 8 o'clock. It's an amazingly tantalising prospect, Leinster to lose on Saturday at 3 o'clock. So we'll get into the particulars of that game with him.
Another match live and off the ball, Joe. We've some amount of live sport coming up over the next few weeks.
Did I see the goats on commentary?
Oh, he is, yeah. In there. Andy Dunn, in case anybody is new to the show.
Who doesn't know it's Andy Dunn?
Andy Dunn with Conor Morris, 3 o'clock on Saturday. So
very good.
Title decider tomorrow night, and then possibly, let's not tell Ronan O'Gara, but possibly Heineken Cup decider on Saturday.
If anybody can feel a bit slighted the way it's all talked about, it's La Rochelle. I mean, defending champions are like an afterthought the way we're talking about this weekend. Newsround is brought to you with Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave or your money back. Neon Night edition available now. Richie, I would say Big Ev is averaging a contract extension every 6 months at the moment.
Not surprising given his step up from the under-23s at Brighton in pretty short order, but he signed a new contract at Brighton which will keep him with the club until the summer of 2028. His previous deal had actually 3 years left to run on it, but the 18-year-old has scored 4 Premier League goals this season. In his breakthrough with Brighton, 4 more came in the Cups. It's been a good day overall actually for Brighton owner Tony Bloom. His Energymen won the William Hill Champion Chase at Punchestown today, but regarding Ferguson's new deal, Brighton manager Roberto De Zerbi says it's good news for both player and club.
It's important for us. It's a very important news. He can improve a lot with us playing. In Brighton there are the right condition for the young players, and he's 18. He's still 18. We have not forget it. It's a good news. I think he's playing very well with the Man United. Was a bad for us without him, because he has different qualities, he can give us different solution in the last 20 meters, 30 meters.
So Ferguson had signed a contract back in October when he turned 18. They've clearly recognised he's bloody good, and so they've stepped up and said, let's improve your terms. I don't know what his terms are. I had a look last week when Kenny was in at the Brighton payroll, and the top paid player is Adam Lallana.
Yeah, I heard you say that. Yeah.
So he's on 80-90 territory a week. I'm sure Evan Ferguson is doing very well for a man of his age. 2028, that would take him up to 23 years of age.
Oh my God, that's grim.
Yeah.
2028 sounds like the future, doesn't it?
Let's not do the maths on
faraway film.
All of us, let's not do the 2028 maths. So that would take him to 23. That's still a very good age if he wants to move elsewhere. No idea if there's a release clause of any kind if Manchester United were to come in. But, maybe he's better off staying there until he's 23.
Yeah, I can't imagine. The length of contract is kind of irrelevant. I mean, Brighton will look for a fee, I imagine, at this point. What I think it does is say that this summer it's hands off. It's like he's going to do another year at Brighton now, unless Manchester United decide he's the man for them and go in and go nuts in the transfer market. But you would imagine that means that short term staying at Brighton, and then you kind of see how he develops after that, really. I think if he is skyrocketing in the way people are suggesting, I can't see him being at Brighton until 2023 or till 2020, until he is 23 in whatever year
2028
far off in the future that is.
Yeah, everybody take a moment and do the maths what age you're going to be in 28 and sit with that for a moment.
I'm doing the maths on the sell-on fee Bose are going to get when he does actually leave Brighton.
Oh yeah,
going to win the Champions League, Joe.
Do Back to the Future's future was 2012.
I do know that.
Just saying, 2028.
Was it not 2015, Mick?
Whatever.
2015.
15.
30 years.
Either way, there were no flying cars. They were wrong about that one.
Yeah.
Did they get anything right? Did they get anything right? Hoverboard's wrong.
Not sure.
Oh, hoverboard's right.
Yeah, they didn't get the internet, Champions League, anything good.
I thought the self-drying jacket was always a good one.
Yeah.
We'd have the
Pair
technology, but
I'd imagine nobody wants it.
Not affordable.
Yeah.
The laces, the pair of laces.
Yeah, pair of laces. They've actually made them.
Do you know what?
Made them.
We've gone on a mad tangent.
He was bloody cool, Michael J. Fox. He still is, but he was just charismatic as a kid. He just had something.
Yeah.
He was just likeable and
What age was he in the Back to the Future films?
I never thought Matthew Broderick was cool.
In Ferris Bueller.
No.
Yeah, he was meant to sort of be wow, but he was Michael J. Fox light.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I don't have a huge amount to add to it, but you're dead right in what you say.
I'm happy to leave it at
Michael J. Fox is a good name as well, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a new documentary out, I think, or book.
Yeah,
documentary
and book, I think, actually.
And book,
documentary's taking centre stage at the minute.
So I think, as predicted, Rich, GA are going to look at the Seamus Flanagan hit.
Yeah, Seamus Flanagan's collision with Waterford's Stephen Bennett is to be reviewed this week by the GAA's Central Competitions Control Committee. The Limerick full forward's left shoulder appeared to make contact with Bennett's jaw in first half injury time in their Munster Hurling Championship contest in Thurles. That game could prove doubly costly for John Kiley's side, with Declan Hannon picking up a groin injury that will leave him sidelined for a month.
Yeah.
It's a big loss, Hannon.
Well,
that's the glue, you know.
They'll only win the All-Ireland by 25 points now.
Stop. Not allowed to talk about that sort of thing anymore. I thought the Irish Independent had that the CCCC possibly wouldn't look at the Flanagan thing because the referee had deemed it accidental at the time and therefore dealt with it. But obviously I thought the referee had missed it. I thought it was clear that he had. So it's interesting that they are looking at it. Now that they are, it is hard to see him not getting a one-match ban, which is it's one of those things that could be appealed to high heaven and you don't know what's going to happen, but it did seem like a red card offence. I think everybody's in general agreement on that.
No, it's definitely a red card. Premier League this evening?
Yeah, and it promises to be an influential night in the battle against relegation. Leeds and Leicester occupy the two places just above the drop zone. They meet Ellen Road. Crystal Palace could move above Chelsea in the table if they win away to Wolves, and the aforementioned Aston Villa could leapfrog Tottenham up into fifth in the table if they beat Fulham. That one is at Villa Park.
There was a text in last night, somebody disappointed that there was no Gaelic football chat last night. The reason being just too much to fit everything in, so we thought we would do it properly and do hurling last night and Gaelic football this evening. So that was the thinking there. Leo Cullen sounds like a man trying to send someone above him a message, says Keane in Dublin. Is he?
I don't know.
Who?
I don't know. Who is above him? Whoever the...
What message is that?
Yeah, it didn't feel like that. It feels more like
they've just got... No.
I don't think I'd pressure off.
Get lost in the rest of us,
I'm not too sure who he's talking about. If Andy Farrell was gone in the morning, and the texture puts in brackets, nothing malicious, he just left, would O'Gara or Cullen be the better replacement as a text in?
That's an interesting question. Yeah, I'd imagine there'd be a few different people.
Cullen's never really talked about in those terms as next Irish coach. I don't quite know why.
He's viewed as a director of rugby at Leinster in a way that his position, his official title, is never actually given away. But if you look at the appointment of the coaches that have worked underneath him, be it Lancaster or now Nienaber, it would suggest that it is more of a director of rugby role that he has there, and the grunt work is done by others.
Yeah, almost like Conor O'Shea did in some ways, and then you're wondering if that's like that. There's no reason that role isn't needed in a big way at international level either, you know. So it is interesting. You're right. We're kind of constantly kind of pining for the time when Rog takes over at Ireland, which he doesn't seem to have any kind of urgency to be doing either. He's happy in his life, whereas like Leo, despite all his success, doesn't seem to get talked about in that bracket. And we suppose we do. It's funny, it's only in the last 3 or 4 months I feel that Leo seems to be getting... A lot of people are going, hang on a second, Leo Cullen's been there for all of this, and you know he's an incredibly important figure, and it's not just Stuart Lancaster. I feel like that's only happened in the last few months. I think people were very quick to kind of give Lancaster all of the coaching credit.
Matt Williams is always very quick to talk up Cullen, that we should appreciate what a difficult thing it is to keep all those plates spinning and make it as effortless as it looks. We have some cricket then, Rich?
Yeah, big day for Ireland today. Paul Sterling and Curtis Camphor scored their maiden test centuries as Ireland ended day 2 of their second test with Sri Lanka firmly in control. Ireland were eventually bowled out for 492 in Gal, their highest ever test total. At stumps, the hosts had made 81 for no loss. It's been largely rain-free in Gal in the last few days, but Sterling hopes today's showers can help deteriorate the wicket in Ireland's favour.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the pitch goes. Shown a few signs that it could deteriorate and break up. I think there was a couple that were encouraging from our seamers at the end in the last session there, where they kept a little bit low. So I think that could hopefully be a threat as the game goes on. And obviously turn's going to come into play. There's going to be footmarks on either side in the last couple of days of the test. So tomorrow's a huge day. I think it's not only important to take a few wickets, but also that run rate. It's crucial to try and maintain.
So Ireland bowled out for 492.
Yeah, it's a smashing score in the first innings of a test match, and for 2 centuries in there is brilliant.
Especially built on a 95 for Balbirnie, and especially given how last week went.
Exactly.
Like to be beaten by an innings in 280, I think it was like really humbling, and that's a real back in your box kind of moment for them to go out and to effectively hit 3 centuries and make 492. It suggests, first of all, that the wicket is kind of benign, and I think Sterling alluded to that elsewhere in his press conference. But otherwise, like, geez, that's magnificent. In just your 6th test to put on a total like that against Sri Lanka in those conditions, like, I don't think that should be undersold.
No, is 492 so good as to make Ireland favourites now?
It depends on what happens with the pitch. Like, it honestly is. It's obviously the fact that Sri Lanka have a big score without a loss of wicket as well would suggest that it's a really, really flat pitch that's going to be hard to get any movement on the ball for. But what happens is, over a 5-day test match, that tends to deteriorate and more opportunities become. So you get that first inning score and you bat for the first day, then, or the first 2 days, then, you've got all the best scoring opportunities. What will happen between, start of play and lunch tomorrow is kind of key to what happens in the rest of the test match. I'd say there's a huge chance of a draw, I would say. If Sri Lanka go out and bat all day tomorrow and get into sort of a 350, 400 kind of territory, then the chances of Ireland putting on another innings of a decent score and then getting another 10 wickets to win the match before the end of the 5 days becomes kind of increasingly unlikely. But early wickets tomorrow, and I'd say Ireland are favourites.
Okay. The snooker's progressing, Rich.
Certainly is, yeah. We're at the business end now. Mark Allen has resumed his World Snooker Championship quarter-final, level at 4 frames apiece with Jack Jones. They're still playing that 9th frame. Luca Bressel has won the first frame of the evening session against Ronnie O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan had trailed 2-1 this morning, but took a 6-2 lead into the session, 6-3 now, as I mentioned there. Both of this afternoon's sessions ended level. Mark Selby and John Higgins evenly split their 8 frames, and they'll return tomorrow afternoon. Anthony McGill and Si Jia Hui will be back in the morning, level at 4 frames each.
Okay, very good. We are out of time. Richie, thank you very much.
Nice one, lads.
Michael, thank you.
Cheers, lads.
Your chance to win big. News Talk's cash machine.
We have ourselves a rollover. If you've entered since 5 o'clock yesterday, you're